I didn't want to make this video. I've been wanting to do a lot more videos on recent anime that's coming out, and I didn't want to talk about Promised Neverland Season 2. Not because I have anything against Promised Neverland as a series. I loved Season 1. I have a video on it, but I just didn't feel like there was anything I could add by talking about a Season 2. But then I watched it, and I realized that I don't have a choice. I have to talk about it because I've never seen an anime crater like this. Promised Neverland Season 1 is one of the best thrillers in all of anime. It is a interesting setup with 3 compelling leads who all have an interconnecting way of communicating and bouncing off of each other and creating complex plans for their escape attempt. Now, if you don't know anything about Promised Neverland Season 1, this is not a video for you, because I'm not going to explain what happens in Season 1. And I'm going to try to stay light on the spoilers here for Season 2 at the beginning, because if you haven't seen Season 2, it starts out really good. The first 3 to 4 episodes are great. They are exactly what I wanted out of Promised Neverland. You know, it continues the main story in ways that are interesting and builds on the world. It's the story of them trying to reach that safe place they've been searching for since Season 1. And that journey and that payoff is really rewarding. And there's a whole lot of interesting setups and ideas that come out of it. Ways that more complicate their world and their relationship to the demons around them. Backstory on why their world is even like what it is. Why they ended up in a farm in a world surrounded by demons. But then past that, you start to feel signs. I'm not a manga reader. I don't have any experience with the manga at all, but I know from other people that this anime skips a lot of content from the manga. And I didn't notice it as much as other people did, and while I felt things were rushed in the episodes following episode 4, and even kind of including it, I didn't pay it a whole lot of attention because I felt like it was propelling the story in different places. I felt like it was changes that were occurring and ways the story was progressing felt rushed, but I was intrigued by the setups of episode 5 and 6 and where the story was going. And then as things went on, it became something untenable. Now, I can't really go through this episode by not talking about spoilers. Unfortunately, I have to talk about the spoilers for Season 2. If you wanted a spoiler-free review, this is where it's going to end. I have to say that if you like Season 1, then take that memory of Season 1, crystallize it in amber, and just never come back to this, because that was a great experience. That's all you need. Just create your own idea of what happens in Season 2. Let that memory of that fantastic season stay that perfect memory. But for the rest of us, let's move forward and talk about, in full spoilers, Season 2 of Promised Neverland. We're going to talk about the elephant in the room to begin with. I am not surprised that Norman came back. It's one of the least surprising things of all in this season. In an anime, or in any type of visual medium, if you don't see a character die, if you don't see a body, then they're probably still alive and they're gonna come back in a few episodes or a few seasons. And if they don't, it's because the show got canceled before it could do that. Norman living is no shock at all. Of course he was gonna live. There is so much more you can do with that character. And the way they bring him back, it's sudden and it's awkward, I feel. They're just randomly in this city and they also randomly stumble across Emma and the gang. I would have liked it to be more intentional and them also maybe searching for them and trying to seek out his friends and family. But I can deal with what they were going with. That's fine. And when they actually talk to Norman himself, there's a lot of really cool ideas going on there. Norman's perspective on why they need to eradicate the demons instead of working with them is spot on. A lot of what he's saying makes a lot of sense. And Emma's perspective, as it always has in the anime, seems grandiose, and you're interested to see in how her vision can become real, because you see both sides. You see Emma's perspective that demons can be nice, caring creatures. They can be just like us. They have the same emotional complexities as humans. While Norman is correct that they see humans as food. They're going to eat them, and if they let them still exists, they are always going to threaten the children's existence. Their systems and structures are always going to perpetuate a cycle of pain to all the children involved. And it also sets up this idea that Norman is going to commit mass murder. He is going to eradicate an entire village. And I didn't actually think they'd go through with this. They actually have him start his plan to eradicate the village. I had a reason to suspect that they weren't going to do that because it'd be difficult to morally bring that character back from the depths of that depraved action. And when it gets into the actual violence, you can see families tearing each other apart, friends tearing each other apart, horrifying violence occurring all over the city, to women, to children, to everyone. And I kept wondering, how are they going to bring Norman back? Are you going to kill off Norman? What are you going to do? How are you going to have a character who's performed this atrocity? How are you going to have that character be the same going forward? And when they are able to convince Norman that his way of viewing things is wrong, when they're able to get their friend back, they answer this question in the worst way possible, by not answering the question. In the space of about an episode, he goes from, yeah, this mass murder is terrible, but I need to do it, and all demons need to be eradicated, to, well, that was a mistake. Now I'm part of the gang. Let's all save the children and end this corrupt system and save the demons also. Which I feel is inexcusable from this series, because what this series did so well was set up that actions have consequences. Every single action a character takes has a consequence. That's what made season 1 so good. But what are the consequences of Norman's actions? They're nothing. You don't even have demons cursing him as some sort of murderer. You don't. You have complete forgiveness from the only characters that know he's responsible, which is revolting. You can't do that. And then, this is a small thing, why are there 11 episodes? Like, who did that? Technically, there's 12, but one's a clip show, right? So, who did 11 episodes? Normally, a season of anime is supposed to be like 12, maybe 13. And God forbid, they had so much content they could have adapted. What happened? That's actually the story behind this whole thing. What is the background behind this season, the production? When those stories come out, that's going to be really interesting. There is seasons worth of content here. I know from the manga and from the story they presented themselves, there are seasons worth of content in that. You could at least make Promised Neverland 3 or 4 seasons, right? Easily. Very, very easily. And I wonder why they didn't want that. Did the production studio, did they just lose faith in it? Are people just not interested in Promised Neverland anymore? I don't quite understand. Because season 1 was so good and so successful. The only thing I can see is season 2 is self-sabotage. I cannot believe that the people who would have created season 1 would go into season 2 saying, you know what? I want this show to die. And the final 2 episodes of the season, episode 10 and 11, are great examples of this. These 2 episodes are the assault on the farm, the big exciting conclusion to this entire series, what everything has been building up to since episode 1. And by only doing 2 episodes, they don't show barely any of the pre-planning, any of the thought process going into this major assault. Again, the climax of the entire series. The actual assault itself only takes about 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes of screen time. There is not a lot of time actually taken for the true assault on the base. There's more time afterwards for monologuing, but the actual assault is very quick. Okay, it's hard to understate how frustrating this experience is. The final few minutes of the show is the biggest kick in the crotch I've ever seen in anime. They just show a slideshow of interesting story points. It's a slideshow of story points that would have been really cool to see adapted into an anime. But instead you get them as a few images at the end of the 11th episode, and then right after, everyone's in the human world, everyone's safe and free, and the season's over, the series is over, it's all dead, goodbye. The end. Happily ever after. If you've loved an anime series or an adaptation, you know how this typically works is that you'll get a season 1. Season 1 will be so cool. You'll get a season 2. Season 2, great. I love it. Season 3 never happens, and there's never any anime that comes out again. But they fully adapt and take time to adapt the material that they have available to them. There are very few exceptions to that rule. Typically, you have a lot more faithful adaptations in the anime world. Maybe the only other examples I know is the original Fullmetal Alchemist off the top of my head. But even then, you know, that is a bit of a different beast because it's more of a longer anime. But you don't really have situations where this happens, right? Where so much content is just completely chopped out just to rush through to the end. You see the problem with that. I would always struggle with shows not finishing because I'm like, I want to see the ending. I want to see it animated to the end. But this has actually made me rethink that. The only way we're ever going to get a proper ending to this show ever is a remake now, because they did it. They ended the show. It's a debacle. It's a debacle. I didn't think I was gonna make a video on Promised Neverland season 2. I really didn't. But then I watched episode 11 and I'm like, I can't not. I have to talk about this. It is beyond disappointing. Beyond disappointing. I loved Promised Neverland season 1. It is incredible. Promised Neverland season 2 is a travesty, a complete and utter travesty. And for any diehard fans, I feel so bad for you. I don't know what to say. I guess that's really all that can be said at this point here. Cherish season 1 and never come back to season 2 again. And keep an eye out for whatever production story comes out from this, because something had to be going on behind the scenes here. There is no way a competent production team does this. This is not just a normal mishandling of an adaptation. This is self-sabotage. But thank you very much for watching this video. I do want to cut in and say, on my channel, I'm working on a big retrospective on the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. I've already gotten almost completely written out here. I'm taking a pause from that to do some quick anime reviews just as the 2021 anime winter season is wrapping up. So keep an eye out for those on the horizon, along with a lot of quick reviews coming out here soon. So if you want to see more of those quick reviews, subscribe. You're going to see that. If you want to see the Haruhi video, hit the bell. It's going to come out. It's going to be great. I'm excited about it. Speaking of shows that just didn't get another season. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. You have a great day. Have a great night. And remember to stay rad.